This video is about a stone circle, or a set of stone circles south of Bristol, and an Iron Age fort 2 miles north of it. Their relationship, the landscape in between. So I start off at Norton Marrowward. I only had when I was doing this walk, I only had 3 hours of daylight left, so I didn't go up to Maes Knoll, but I've got footage of it from along the route. It dominates the landscape. But I start at Norton Marrowward, along to Norton Hawkfield, then south, using footpaths. Nice countryside. Head south, and then pick up some pottery in the fields between Norton Hawkfield and down to Stanton Drew. And these the stone circles at Stanton Drew aren't as famous as they should be. They're the second. It's the second largest stone circle in England. High up there in the top 10 of important ancient sites, but it's very little known. And it's right next door. If you live in Bristol, it's right next door to you. Literally, Bristol is 2 miles north of Maes Knoll Castle. So yeah, let's get started. So anyway, yes, I'm walking from Norton Marrowward over to Norton Hawkfield. Over to my right, over there is Maes Knoll, which is an Iron Age hill fort. It overlooks both Bristol and the Avon, and also the valley this way towards Stanton Drew. So heading north towards Gloucestershire and south into Somersetshire. It's on a ridge that separates those two places. Well, the Avon does really, but I'm pointing out the Maes Knoll because it's the end, the terminus of the Wansdyke, probably. That's the consensus at the moment, and the Wansdyke is a Dark Ages sub-Roman fortification, probably to keep the Anglo-Saxons that were up in the Thames Valley from pushing south into Somerset. So it's part of a romantic notion of civilized resistance, Christian resistance against pagan invasion. You can look at it that way, or you can see it as some poor farmers migrating to survive against an entrenched ruling class. You can look at it that way as well. I prefer the former, really. But it's an Iron Age. It's the terminus. It's an Iron Age fort, but it was reused for that purpose, to be the end point, or certainly to be a station along the Wansdyke. And hopefully I'll be able to get up there. I'm going on a long circular walk, get a bit of exercise from Norton Marrowward, which is at the bottom of Maes Knoll, to down to Stanton Drew Stone Circle, then back up onto the Drundry hills, and then back along to oh, there's a nice shot there. I'll get my proper camera out, bear with me. Back along to Maes Knoll. I'll get my proper camera out and let's have a look. Maes Knoll as a name suggests in Old English meadow knoll, and that makes no sense. We're nowhere near any water here. So other places called like Maes Knoll, that's probably what it means, but not in this case. It may well be an older British place name, but it is an Iron Age fort, probably 250 BC, something like that. And this large hump you can see in this picture, because stretching forward from here from this viewpoint forwards, it's all flat. It's no longer hill edge, hill slopes. In that direction, that giant bank there has been built as a defensive defensive wall, because that would have been the weakest point for this fortification. It's on the east side of the downs that overlook Bristol and the Avon River. Of course, there was no Bristol in that period. Bristol was Old English, Anglo-Saxon, but to the west of Bristol, places like Stoke Bishop, and anyway, that side of Bristol, there were other Iron Age forts. So it's part of a network of defences. But after the Romans left, it extends to this is the terminus, the western terminus, probably. I think it goes on further, but the scientists disagree. But there is a bank and ditch that goes off to the east from here. This is the terminus. It goes east from here across to Bath, and then probably follows the old Roman road to near Avebury, and then you see the Wansdyke there, a really impressive dyke. It is there and goes over to pretty much to Marlborough. So it's a massive fortification, sub-Roman, probably to keep out the Anglo-Saxons, or maybe even the Scots, which were Irish basically at the time, or the Picts. So done about a mile and a half now, and we're leaving the ridge which Drundry is on. And so yes, the Iron Age. It was Iron Age originally, so it's about somewhere between 800 and the middle of the 1st century, 800 BC to the middle of the 1st century AD. And but most hill forts were sort of like something like 200 BC, and then you get much more professional pottery and other goods. It's a real development in wealth and culture at that period. But where we're going to, Stanton Drew, is is Neolithic, which is thousands of years before then. Neolithic going on Bronze Age, and or late Neolithic. So there's no real connection between the two things. They're just antiquities on the landscape. But like I say, I'm not really trying to link them. I could argue that the Wansdyke protected historical, ancient, cultural sites, but you'll find further along in the Wansdyke that it relinquishes Avebury and Silbury Hill. That's the part in Wiltshire. So it probably wasn't that. I expect the Wansdyke was just a statement of political and political fighting. Look at this. Can you see these? All the way down there. And they think they've knocked down the dumping rubbish as a crime sign while they're at it. Anyway. I love it when the fields have been... Is that focusing? God knows. Anyway, that's there's some pottery there. That's a cup or something. It's very it's fine. I mean, it's not poshware. But it's thin, as in it's been used for a cup or a plate or something like that. So bingo. I love this. I love it when the crops have been cleared. Oh, what's this over here? don't know. There's some more. That's from a pot or something. I don't know what period it is. I have no idea. The only one things that I can really recognise are things like black burnish ware and grey ware, Roman. I can't tell the difference between medieval or modern or Roman or prehistoric wares like this, the red ones. But anyway, archaeology is all around us. That's been used by human beings probably long in the past. Look how it's weathered. There's some more. Yeah, it's definitely archaeology, but it could be like archaeology from like 50, 100 years ago. I just can't tell. It's why I only really talk about the stuff I can recognise. That I'm just not good enough. But it's if you do find any grey or black, sort of a polished black is really nice as well. That can be either late Iron Age or Roman, and that stuff I know what it is. It indicates that the Romano-British were living in that location. That one's got an inclusion. That's some shell or something. So perhaps anybody that's watching this that actually knows what they're talking about may have a clue about dating that. I would be interested. So I really enjoyed that. I found some pottery. I just wish it was a period I could recognise. But anyway, on just over this hill, then down the hill, we're going to be at the stone circle. So let's get going. That is there's a bit of rim or base of a pot, and there's basically two materials or two firings. You've got a different colour on the inside, which is grey, and on the outside a slip, both sides, an orangey slip, and that's a nice piece of pot. So that hedge I just shown you a second ago is part of an Anglo-Saxon Old English parish boundary. I shall look up. I haven't done any research for the Saxon boundaries around here. There's a fighting chance there will be one. I shall look it up on the internet when I get back and fill in. I'll take some sort of cinematic shots and do a voiceover if I can find it. But it's when I get home. Because the point of that is that the Old English, whenever they made a turn on a boundary, to record it, they'd give it a name each turn, and that gives us an insight into how the ancients named the landscape, and we may as well do a bit of that. So there's not a massive, there's not a great deal. I'm laughing because there's nothing really that links the Anglo-Saxons, the Iron Age peoples, the Romans, and the Neolithic particularly very well. I would argue there is a line that goes through, at least from the Bronze Age all the way through to the modern day Welsh. But yes, the Saxons remade the landscape in their image, but it gives us insights, and it's a hobby. Anyway, let's get down to the Stanton Drew stone circle. So that's got a glaze on it, so it's probably medieval, I would have thought, or post-medieval, and i.e. early modern. And it's a rim as well, so it's got a nice rim feature. It's nice to get. That's nice, I like that. But it's not my period. But yeah, archaeology.